My name is Matthew Williams. I'm a 32-year-old running a small patisserie on the edge of the mountains. My shop, passed down from my grandfather, is a beloved local patisserie. Although it doesn't boast a stylish terrace or a European exterior that pops on social media, it has a cozy and warm look, known as the Hillside Cake Shop, and it enjoys a steady flow of customers. This shop was my grandfather's pride, only passed down to me when he could no longer stand in the kitchen due to a back injury. His principles were simple: use quality ingredients and focus on enriching the content rather than embellishing the appearance. That was all. However, we live in an era dominated by social media. Feeling a sense of crisis as our sales declined year by year, I realized that sticking to the old ways wouldn't suffice. First, I managed to set up social media accounts for our shop. Then, I asked every friend from my school days to help spread the word. Thanks to that, although we didn't become explosively popular, word of mouth about our quality offerings spread, and we managed to turn our finances from the consistent losses before my grandfather's retirement to a modest profit. Yet, that alone doesn't stabilize a patisserie's sales. After all, cakes aren't consumed as frequently as other, more affordable commercial sweets. Most cakes in our shop cost nearly $7, which is quite cheap considering the quality ingredients we use. In lieu of that, by cutting advertising costs, foregoing wrapping and interior decor, and using the shop as it was since my grandfather's time without any renovations, we were able to keep our prices this low. We also source fruits that may not look perfect but are of unchanged quality from the village down the mountain at a low cost, focusing our creations around them. This region used to have many ranches and vegetable farms. However, with the younger generation's growing disinterest in corn, there has been an increase in farmers focusing on producing gift-quality fruits for department stores, supermarkets, and farmers markets. Thanks to that, we've been able to get fruits at a cheaper rate. Trying to expand our market, I tentatively posted pictures of decorated cakes on social media. To my surprise, people I didn't even know on social media praised my work for its high quality. It seems I do have an aesthetic sense. Maybe it's because I've always liked looking at beautiful graphic images, landscape paintings, and designers' creations, or because I've been checking out young people's trends on social media. My cakes quickly spread with the help of young folks. Now, with customers wanting beautiful birthday cakes, we've managed to keep our revenue in the black, even with almost no in-store sales. I'm not much for following trends, having no favorite celebrities or anime characters, but there are plenty of people out there who want to celebrate their favorites. Celebrating favorite characters or pop singers with cakes and dishes seems to be a source of motivation for fans to keep pushing through their days. Perhaps that's why, even amidst recent price hikes, the number of reservations for decorated cakes hasn't dropped. However, in a shop that could close down at any time, hiring someone isn't an option. Like my grandfather, who had no partner, I was left to continue making a considerable number of decorated cakes alone every day. Yet, these decorated cakes aren't made carelessly, but I always use the same fruits, the same cream. Meanwhile, sales of the small cakes I put more effort into creating are stagnating. I was harboring a sense of frustration with this situation. This way, I thought, might be going against my grandfather's principle of making good, quality things. But even if I keep making only quality items, there are plenty of other delicious cakes out there. Differentiating them would be difficult. The patisserie's location also contributed to the lack of foot traffic in the shop. Over time, this old mountain village has been facing severe aging and depopulation. Mostly, it's inhabited by people who don't even buy cakes for birthdays anymore, with hardly any occasions for grandchildren to visit, so no one buys cakes as souvenirs. Rarely, among those who come for the hot springs or mountain activities in this area, almost no one thinks of eating cake. So, here I am today, staring at an empty storefront, sighing. Looks like I'm gonna face more losses. This never happened during my grandpa's time. Come to think of it, I heard the village's elementary school closed down, so everyone has to take the bus down to the village at the foot of the mountain. That means there really are no young people left in this village. I guess I have to reduce the number of cakes I make for the shop front a bit more. As I thought about this, I let out what felt like my umpteenth sigh of the day. Everything in the patisserie is priced high. Even relatively cheaper items like madeleines, financiers, and cookies are too expensive for everyday snacking. For the elderly, it's obvious they'd prefer the nearby shop selling affordable pound cake and ice cream. There, they can enjoy several times the amount for the same price. Pound cake are even sold for just $1. I wish the chiffon cakes I put so much effort into would sell. Today, I'm humbled to myself again, looking over the showcase and the basket of baked goods that probably won't see much reduction. With the Christmas season over, there's hardly anyone buying cakes now. And with snow falling almost daily, there are even fewer people going outside. It's unrealistic to expect someone to come buy cakes in such weather. Talking about adhering to my grandpa's principles isn't gonna cut it anymore. From now on, instead of focusing on storefront sales, I need to expand into online sales and create products that can sell there. With that in mind, I'm struggling daily to create a website for selling our long-lasting baked goods, squaring off against the computer, which I'm not very good at. On such a day. It's getting even colder today. My hands are about to freeze. My fingers felt like they were freezing, and I instinctively warmed them with my breath. That's right, I'll run some hot water and do the dishes. That'll warm up my hands. Muttering to myself, I moved from the storefront to the kitchen. The kitchen had a large glass window that allowed a view of the shop. It was installed so my grandma could quickly attend to the shop while doing the dishes, allowing her and my grandpa to manage the shop by themselves. I love spending time washing dishes, packing baked goods, or peeling fruits while looking out at the scenery outside. But today, it seems like there's no chance of enjoying the outside view. The distant mountains were almost invisible, blanketed in a fierce snowstorm. Being in the mountains, this place particularly gets a lot of snow. All right, after I finish the dishes, maybe I'll clean the kitchen for a bit. Muttering to myself again, I moved further back into the kitchen, away from the spot where I could see the shop. You might think it's careless to do such things during business hours, but unfortunately, the blizzard outside is making a tremendous noise. It's pitch dark outside. We were supposed to be open until 8 p.m., but on a day like this, I couldn't imagine anyone coming in to buy a cake. First, I need to check the reservations for the customized cakes that are supposed to be shipped out tomorrow. How many of them? As I was thinking this and about to head further inside, that's when I heard it. Excuse me, is it still possible to get a birthday cake made at this shop? A desperate voice of a young woman came through, her voice hoarse from shouting. I was about to close up for the day but hadn't locked the door or turned off the lights yet. That must have made her think we were still open. Braving the blizzard, I rushed to the front door to let the young woman, who had come all this way, inside, and flung open the glass door with force. Thank you so much for coming in this blizzard. Are you okay? You're absolutely soaked. Please, wait a moment. Where did you walk from? Standing there was a young mother in a down coat far too thin for the season, huddling close with her daughter, who looked to be about kindergarten age. You must be cold in that outfit. You'll catch a cold if you don't change soon. For now, please sit in front of the stove here. Saying this, I hurried to the back of the shop, fetched a stove and 2 chairs, placed them near the entrance, and had them sit down. Then, I immediately had them take off their coats and hung them near the stove to dry. How far had they walked to get here? Both were soaked through their coats, and even in a warm room, they seemed likely to catch a cold in their current state. Excuse me, please wait a moment, I said, and then hurriedly retreated to the back, frantically opening every wardrobe I could find. My sisters had long since grown up and moved to the city for work, leaving behind some of their old clothes. I found the warmest-looking clothes and the fluffiest, thickest towel I could find in the bathroom, and quickly returned to the front of the shop. Here, please wear these, and use this to dry off. Come on, get closer to the stove to warm up. Thank you so much, the woman said, seeming embarrassed. Realizing something, I blurted out, "Do you want to use the locker room?" But she declined, saying that would be too much as she started to dry her daughter's hair. Still, with them being so drenched, I turned up the shop's heating to max, knowing the stove alone wouldn't be enough. Seeing them still shivering and soaked, I hesitantly offered, "I know it might seem suspicious coming from a stranger, but you're both soaking wet. Would you like to warm up in our bath? You'll definitely catch a cold like this." The mother looked very wary at first, insisting, "No, that's too much to ask. We couldn't possibly impose." But her little daughter was shivering and sneezed softly. Seeing her daughter like that, the mother seemed to reconsider. After reassuring them repeatedly that there was nothing suspicious, the mother said, "I'm really sorry for barging in like this, but could we possibly just have my daughter take a bath?" Then, the daughter chimed in, "It's cold, thank you. But Mom's also soaked in cold, right? So why won't Mom take a bath?" The mother, looking troubled, was at a loss for words. I figured it's natural to be cautious about suddenly being offered a bath by a man alone. Still concerned for the mother's well-being, I said, "Look, I know it might seem really worrying in a patisserie run by a man alone, but it's important you don't catch a cold either. Plus, your daughter won't feel at ease if you're freezing. So, please warm up together. I'll be busy in the kitchen with preparations for tomorrow. Oh, the bathroom is just on the left through that wooden door there." Saying this, I entered the kitchen and started to cut the sponge for tomorrow's customized cakes. Watching me work silently, the mother eventually felt reassured and said, "Thank you. Then I'll take you up on your offer." She then slid open the creaky wooden door and went into the changing room with her daughter. After a while, I heard the girl's voice from the bathroom, exclaiming, "Wow, it's so warm. Smells nice. It's been a while, bath." To which the mother quietly scolded, "Hey, we agreed not to say that outside, right?" Their conversation and their appearance upon arriving at the shop made it clear how much this family had been struggling to make ends meet. After finishing the cake base with cream and fruit, I quietly started cleaning up. Right, I should prepare that while I have the chance. I put a pot on the stove to further warm up the mother and daughter. How many minutes had passed? Before I knew it, the two of them were standing at the kitchen entrance, their hair still wet. Thank you for everything. We were able to warm up because of you." Good. Feel free to use a hairdryer in the locker room. Usually, it's just me with my short hair, so I have completely forgotten about it. Right, I hadn't taken out the hairdryer. I'm not very thoughtful, am I? Thinking this, I opened the drawer under the changing room, pulled out the hairdryer my sisters used to use, and weakly smiled as I handed it to the mother. Maybe it's because I'm not used to dealing with women, having spent most of my time cooking. I didn't know what kind of expression to make while talking to a woman my age for the first time in a while. "Thank you for everything, really," the mother said, then gently wiped her daughter's hair with a towel before starting to dry it hesitantly. After finishing drying the hair, I guided them back in front of the stove and moved a small table from the shop in front of. This is just something I whipped up." Saying that, I placed a vegetable soup I had made yesterday, a burger I hurriedly cooked up, and a corn salad on the table. The mother straightened up again and said with teary eyes, "Oh, you shouldn't have gone to all this trouble. Sorry, I thought I might be making you uncomfortable by doing all this, but actually, I used to enjoy cooking more than baking cakes. Not that I don't like baking cakes, but it requires a lot of attention, you know." Watching my grandfather, I decided to take over the shop, and now here I am. But I actually feel more at ease when I'm cooking. I always end up making too much and often it goes to waste. So, I'm glad I have guests to eat it today. Please, don't hold back and enjoy. Yay. Emily loves burgers. And I love sweet corn too. It's been so long since I've eaten something this delicious. Thank you, chef. Emily exclaimed happily. Hey, I'm sorry. We've been so busy lately. I haven't been able to give her proper meals. The mother seemed uneasy, not wanting to probe further. While I thought there might be more to their story, I reassured, "No, it's okay." Emily then asked, "Yay, can I eat now?" Given the go-ahead, she must have been really hungry as she started devouring the burger with a big bite. I hadn't seen my sisters eat with such relish when we used to dine together, so I couldn't help feeling happy. Wow, you have a great appetite. It makes me happy to see you enjoy the food so much. Really. But this burger is so delicious. It's nothing like what we eat at daycare. Emily quickly finished everything, making quick work of her meal. But looking at the mother, she had barely touched her food. And there she was, looking down as if she wanted to say something but couldn't bring herself to do it. Hesitantly, I asked her, "Is everything okay?" Her face crumpled as if she was about to cry, and she said with a trembling voice, "I'm really sorry to ask after you've done so much for us, but right now, I don't really have any money on me. But today is my daughter's 5th birthday. I know it's rude to ask, but could you possibly make a birthday cake for my daughter who has never had one before? I'll pay you back later. I'm sorry, can you please make her first birthday cake? In the palm of the mother's hand was a dollar bill. I had suspected as much, considering their appearance when they arrived, not even able to afford proper winter gear for the season. And from Emily's reaction when she bathed or saw the food, it was clear they couldn't afford the luxury of a cake. But honestly, $1 wouldn't cover the cost of a cake. She knew that, of course. After looking apologetic, she clenched her eyes shut. I'm sorry. It's impossible, isn't it? Hearing her words, I was suddenly reminded of the past. My parents had taken over a business from my maternal grandparents. However, it seems the business had already been struggling since I was very young. My parents couldn't explain the situation to me back then, a mere elementary school student. Without any explanation from them, I grew up harboring resentment for not spending any money on me. But now, looking back, it was quite fortunate that our family didn't lose our home or possessions despite the business going bankrupt. It was all thanks to my paternal grandparents who had handed down this patisserie to me. They didn't take over the family farm, but instead started this patisserie from scratch and made it successful. They had a lot of land left over from when the family was involved in farming. To help us out, they sold all of their land, and with that money, they paid off all the debts my parents had accumulated. Because of their help, we were able to maintain a normal life without any hardship. How grateful I was for that. It took me about 10 years to realize how grateful I should be for that. Back then, I was just sulking because I couldn't get a video game console on a special day. I couldn't mix in with my classmates and felt out of place in class at times. Could I really let this little girl in front of me experience similar sadness? Given how apologetically the mother is asking, she would surely try to pay back the money later, no matter how hard it might be for her. Then, I should make it so she doesn't feel sorry. I'm sorry, but would it be okay if it's not a whole cake? After all, not many customers were coming in anyway. But even if that weren't the case, having nothing on her special day, her birthday, would cast a dark shadow on this young girl's heart. I didn't want to make this bright, honest, and adorable little girl feel that way. With a resolve, I took out a piping bag filled with melted chocolate and began drawing on a chocolate plate. So cute. Seeing Emily getting excited made me feel a warmth I had never experienced before. The cake I finished was a sponge cake adorned with a small marzipan rose and a chocolate plate drawn with her favorite character I had asked about during dinner, saying "Happy birthday, Emily." Here, this is our shop's special sponge cake. And this cake with a rose on it is a prototype that hasn't been put out in the shop yet, so feel free to take it. As I said that, the mother, who had been looking down guiltily, suddenly looked up and said, "Oh, I can't thank you enough for all the trouble we've caused. But you've been a great help. Thank you so much." Emily was puzzled, asking, "Really? I can have such a cute cake for free. But when I play store, I always say how much something is and pay with money. So, are prototypes something you don't have to pay for?" Seeing her confusion, I explained, "This was made as practice before we sell it in the shop. Plus, it has your favorite character on it, right? So, this cake is especially for you, Emily. And it's a birthday gift from me. Would you accept it?" Her eyes widened in joy, and she started hopping around me excitedly. "Really? Can I really have it?" "Yes, Emily. Happy 5th birthday. Thank you for coming to our shop in such cold weather." Overwhelmed, Emily's face crumpled as if she was about to cry. "Thank you so much." Whoa. And then, she and her mother hugged, both saying sorry and crying together for a while. When they calmed down, I mentioned that I had warmed up the car and offered to drive them home. The mother, realizing that walking back in the blizzard would undo all the warmth they'd just gained, gratefully accepted the offer. Driving a car that had only been used for cake deliveries, I had 2 passengers on board. "I'm so sorry. It's all because of me." The mother kept apologizing even as we drove. To the mother, who continued to apologize, I kindly said, "No worries, we're all in this together. Ma'am, please, no need to apologize. Just keep a smile on your face for your daughter." Hearing this, the mother's face seemed on the verge of tears again. Following her directions, right and left, We arrived at their home, which was surprisingly dilapidated. I was lost for words at the sight of the shabby little house that looked almost like a hut. Then, the mother said, "I'm sorry for everything. Thank you so much for all your kindness. I will never forget this favor." Oh, I hadn't introduced myself yet. "My name is Mia. Thank you truly for today." Saying this, she looked apologetic, and then took Emily's hand, heading inside the house. At that moment, I said, "I'm sorry, this might not be necessary, but I have some winter clothes that my sisters used to wear when they were little. If it's okay, maybe Emily could use them." After saying this, I handed her a paper bag, and before she could start hesitating again, I quickly closed the van door with a then, leaving them with the bag. Holding the paper bag, the mother looked at me as if I were a saint, while Emily waved at me with a big smile. Relieved that I had safely delivered them and that the clothes were not a bother, I started on my way back home. A week later. By this time, the blizzard had completely cleared, and the morning sun was spilling glimmeringly onto the sparkling white snow. Thinking it was going to be a beautiful, sunny day, I set up the store's banner and proceeded with the opening preparations when suddenly, a figure appeared. "Hi, I'm the person you helped the other day, Mia. Thank you so much for everything a few days ago. We managed to avoid catching a cold, thanks to you. Chef, thank you so much for last time. Your house was so warm, the food was delicious, and the cake was both cute and tasty." It was Emily's first time having such a birthday, and she was so happy. "It's all thanks to you." Seeing Emily running towards me with a big smile, a smile involuntarily spread across my face. "Hey, it's not chef, you know. A chef who makes cakes is called a pastry chef." Mia, scolding with a face much more relaxed than before, which also made me happy. Mia was just laughing as if troubled, and Emily was tilting her head at the unfamiliar word, pastry. I chuckled and said, "That's right. Maybe you can look it up when you get older." Emily responded with a lively air. Then, I noticed something odd. The two, who last time wore worn-out clothes that looked quite old, were today dressed surprisingly well. Mia in a suit of fine quality in a light color, and Emily in a dress that also seemed of good quality. As I looked puzzled on them, I came to express my gratitude for that time. Mia revealed that her family owned a certain famous department store, and then she proposed to let me supply my cakes there. What? What do you mean by that? As I listened more, a shocking truth came to light. Wait, Mia's grandfather is the chairman of the company that runs Grand Horizon Department Store. I was astonished. The last time she came, I couldn't have imagined it. Then, she began to explain why she was in such financial trouble. Mia had been groomed as the successor, attending a prestigious university as her grandparents wished. However, during her studies, she started working part-time at a record store under the guise of gaining social experience, where she met Emily's father, the vocalist of a band, and they began dating. But the difference in their social status was too significant. As expected, her family vehemently opposed the relationship, and Mia eloped with him, starting a life together in a cheap apartment. Having lived as a young lady her whole life, she worked hard to maintain their life together. However, he did not work at all, insisting on pursuing his music, and their financial situation became dire. His band hardly made any money. This led to constant quarreling. During such times, Mia found out she was pregnant with Emily. Finding out about the pregnancy, he panicked about the additional costs and took off. After giving birth, Mia had to return to work soon but couldn't manage to work as hard as before, and the expenses, including Emily's daycare, just kept piling up, making life increasingly difficult. Caught up in the daily grind, she didn't even consider consulting social services. She was always desperate. However, as Emily grew, she started expressing a wish for a birthday party, probably something she heard from friends. Honestly, we were struggling just to get by, let alone throw a party. In that situation, Mia wondered if any bakery would make a cake if she explained her circumstances. So, she called several bakeries, only to be turned down again and again. It was sheer coincidence that she didn't call our place sooner. Well, we don't advertise anywhere, and our website only takes orders for decorated cakes. Desperate, she asked around the neighborhood and eventually found her way to our shop. Unexpectedly, I was very kind to her, which made her want to repay the kindness. So, after several years, she called her parents home multiple times, apologizing profusely. Come to think of it, I remember receiving a cake order from someone with the same last name as Mia. As I pondered this, Mia started explaining how she desperately begged her parents to try the cake once, and they agreed under the condition that she would take over the department store. This was largely influenced by her grandparents' adoration for Emily, their first meeting with their great-granddaughter being so charming that they were completely smitten. Emily kept saying how adorable that cake was and how delicious it was, so much so that her grandparents decided they wanted to order from here for their cute granddaughter. When they finally tried it, they were deeply moved by how well it was made with quality ingredients. They were so grateful for our service that they wanted to give something back. When I mentioned it, they suggested, why not try placing it in our department store? Despite being abandoned by the love of her life, she tirelessly continued to survive with her daughter. It seemed she realized that embracing her family's legacy was a more straightforward path than running away, sparing her daughter from hardship. Meeting me and experiencing kindness made her recognize that parents always worry about their children, even if ties seem to be cut. Mia shared this realization with a smile. To be honest, I really appreciated this suggestion. Frankly, this proposal was incredibly welcome. I gratefully accepted the offer and started supplying our baked goods, focusing on pastries and chiffon cakes, to the Grand Horizon department store. Customers quickly noticed the difference, saying our products obviously used real butter, not substitutes, and the quality of the ingredients was evident. Word of mouth spread, and within a year, our products had become very popular. Thanks to the sales, I was able to hire more staff for the kitchen, which also allowed us to increase production and even start selling our pastries online. And then, 5 years later, a 26-year-old woman who has been working with us for 5 years has come forward wanting to take over the business. It took me years to learn everything myself. It seems like it will still take some time for her to fully inherit my grandfather's taste, but I feel a sense of reliability in her. Through interacting with just the two of them, I was able to feel a warmth and joy in my heart that I couldn't have experienced on my own. It's an emotion that I probably couldn't have tasted by just continuing to receive money and provide cakes as usual. Of course, I'm extremely happy that our cakes have been recognized. But until now, I didn't know that being kind to someone without expecting anything in return and being appreciated for it could make me feel so warm and bright. I realized that I had been avoiding interactions with people, just doing things on my own quietly. As a result of being kind to them, problems that have been troubling me for so long were suddenly resolved. I truly can thank Mia and her companions enough, and it makes me think that you never know what might happen in life.